Hello, everyone, and welcome to Counselor Feature Friday. I'm your host, Brian Urban. In these features, we hope to give you some simple tips, tidbits, and tricks to make your days easier and your patients happier. In this feature, we're going to talk about updating your line item lists. Your line item lists contain all the products and services that you want to place in a super bill, on an invoice, into a claim. So some maintenance here, right? Making sure these lists behave and look the way you want can save an enormous amount of time with other activities within your clinic. So what I'm going to do in this overview is break down a few different ways that you can update your list, the way you can add new items to your list, and once again, overall, just keep it up to date. Okay, so first we're going to talk about just very simply how you can add a quick item to the list. Then we'll talk about how you can edit an individual item. Then we'll look at how you can mass update a whole series of products or services, right? If you want to update your hearing aid pricing for a whole group of devices, great, we can do that in one go. As well as we'll also talk about how Counselor can assist with this process through a process where you download your list of products and services. You then can update it on a spreadsheet and then provide that back to Counselor and will upload that for you, right? So we're going to show this in a few different ways, just depending on kind of how much updating you need to do. I'll kind of describe what may be the most beneficial. So let's just keep it really simple and start here by saying, hey, we want to add an item to list. So we're going to go initially here to administration and then to line item list. Okay. The next step is to pick the type. Right now, this is our test account here, so these types would not look the same as yours, but of course you pick the type that you wish to update. Most commonly, this is going to be your hearing aid list, but certainly other lists need to be updated from time to time as well. Or historically, maybe you have some things that need to be cleaned up that just have been kind of persisting. You can pop in here anytime and do that. So we'll pick the hearing aid type in this case. As I scroll down, we can see the list of current devices. Obviously, if you want to just add one, go ahead and type in the description here. I would really encourage you with the description to keep a level of consistency with existing devices. For example, we recommend, you have like the manufacturer name at the start of the description, right? So you could even take a similar device, right? You could highlight it, you can right click on it to copy and then paste it in above. You could, Control C, Control V using your keyboard to do the same, and then make a modification. So copy it up in the description, make your modifications, from there, for example, okay? Just to keep that level of consistency. Or if it's a brand new, line of hearing instruments, and let's say you have 5 or 8 or 10 of these to add, then just go ahead and type in. But once again, keep the general same formatting that you've used previously. Okay. When you're adding these, of course, then you can put in your billing codes. You can determine the billing codes by just start typing them in, right? And once again, you're going to see a lot of that in your existing list, right? So if you look down and say, all right, let's find a Mini Ride or a RIC or a Power BTE or whatever it is, what are the codes, or a CSE, what are the codes that apply? Okay, well, here's the monaural HCPCS code. Here's the binaural HCPCS code, right? It's already kind of in place for you, so you don't have to figure that out. You would just go ahead and enter those. And as you saw before, just simply by typing in, it's going to show you the list of available options. There we go. And then there's our binaural, okay? You can enter the manufacturer, although I will say if you have the manufacturer entered as part of the description, it will automatically detect it. Same thing for style. If you have RIC, BT, CIC in place, it'll automatically detect that as well. 2 areas you would need to enter manually if you do have different technology levels for different devices, you would need to select that at this point. Same thing goes for the battery, so you pick that as well. Retail price, cost of goods sold, obviously you'd enter those at this point. You can set your tax rate if that applies. If it doesn't, just leave it as not set. There are options here regarding service plan discount. There's a whole other Feature Friday specific on service plan discounts, but this will apply a discount to an item if the patient is in a service plan. So most commonly, they may get a discount on cleaning checks or a discount on batteries if they're currently in a service plan. Obviously, you can put your QuickBooks path, desktop or online, as well as Xero for your accounting system. Your counselor can assist with that if you have any questions. Point being is you can go ahead, you can say if you want to manage stock for these devices, you can say if you want to set up commission rules, right? This can all happen in this area for this individual device. Okay, so once again, if you have a new line of hearing instruments that just came out from manufacturer, you're probably best served by just coming in here, entering, the 5, 8, or 10 or whatever options there are, and they're going to be in your list immediately, right? So your whole team can access that list as soon as you enter them, okay? So that's the process for entering an individual device, right? The process for, and I apologize, backed out of that screen. Let's go back into administration and line item list. The process for editing an individual item, pretty straightforward. You scroll down, you find the item, click the edit option off to the right. That's where we can see those same fields. We can make modifications on the fly. Okay, so any individual area you want to enter and make a change, go ahead and do so, and then click save. Okay. Now, if we say that we maybe we need to edit more at one go. I'd rather not do this one at a time. Maybe I'm making a significant change to pricings for a certain technology level. Okay, great. That is where the mass update tool, mass update items tool comes into play. So click actions, then select mass update items. What you'll see here are two filters first off. So most commonly, you would use the manufacturer filter, right? Find the manufacturer, select it, see the list of items, and make your updates. Okay. You also could sort by style if you wanted to. Say, show me all the CICs because we're raising the price on CICs $50, whatever the case may be, right? You could do it that way. Once again, most commonly, you would just pick the manufacturer. Let's just grab first on the list here. And you see a lot of different data points here, right? So you can look through and you can start making changes. Maybe you want to change your cost of goods sold. Maybe you want to change the retail price, or you found a mistake, right? Maybe, whoops, we have that at a different price than we intended. Let's go ahead and modify that, for example, right? Now, right now, I have all of these different columns displayed. So you can see these blue check boxes tell me which columns are displayed. And what that's done is it's a little wider than the screen. So what I need to do is go to the bottom and I can scroll over and see the rest of those, okay? Ultimately though, if you're working, let's say you're working on commission or tax rate, it's kind of off the edge of the screen, what you probably would do is just say, hey, I'm gonna focus on the areas I wanna focus on. So I don't need to see maybe the style, I don't need to see the battery, I don't necessarily need to see the COGS, I don't need to see tax, or whatever the case may be, right? But as you see, as I am removing those checkboxes, it's making this screen more usable, right? It's showing you the specific areas that you wish to modify. So maybe I went in and made changes to commission. I say, great, I'm done with that. Now I want to update my COGS. Great, there's my COGS, right? Go ahead and make those changes one by, kind of column by column or topic by topic. And then as you finish, or when you finish, you go ahead and you click save, right? I should also mention that if there are items that you want to remove from your list, you're saying, hey, I need to clean up here. We got, some devices that are maybe 3 generations old that we're not going to fit, right? You can go ahead and uncheck these items. And then as soon as you do, it will then, of course, remove them from your list. Now, depending on the length of your list, you may see a few seconds delay there, maybe several seconds, as Counselor kind of goes through all of that data, looks for where the updates are, and applies them. So when you click Save on that mass update screen, just give it, several seconds to let that processing continue. It's doing a lot of work behind the scenes. But immediately you'll see any changes that you made are present in your list. If you deactivate it, if you disabled an item, you'll see it at the very bottom. So maybe, whoops, I didn't mean to. You could always go down here, click Display Inactive Items, and I apologize, I went past the start of that. You can go to Display Inactive Items. Where is that guy? And you will, there we go. So you can see right at the bottom here, and then you can expand it. And so you could find that item again, and then click Edit and reactivate it. So you're not deleting anything. You are simply just putting in a disabled state, so it takes it off your active list. But who knows, if you need an Altitude Pro to pop back up, all right, go for it, right? You could certainly do that, okay? All right, so let's go back at the top here. So we've talked about adding products and services, specifically hearing aids one by one. We've talked about editing them by clicking off to the right on the individual device. We've talked about looking overall at your list and performing a mass update. Okay, let's say your needs span beyond that, right? And you're saying, hey, it's going to be kind of cumbersome to have to, I need to make updates to all of my hearing aids, for example. Maybe I want to change, make some significant changes to my pricing, or maybe I never entered my codes or things like that. Then Counselor can help you out, right? So what you want to do is, once again, go to the type that you wish to update, okay? And then you go ahead and click Download Line Items. This is going to create a spreadsheet, right? So let's drop this into an Excel spreadsheet. Let's go and open that guy up. Okay, so there it is. And here we see, right, all those different columns that we saw before in the mass update and in the edit screen, right? So these are areas that you can modify, right? So you can hop in and make changes. Most commonly for cost of goods sold, retail price, tax potentially, commission, etc. Right? Maybe you haven't entered your batteries, but want to do it here, and want to do it here, you certainly could. Maybe, like I mentioned before, you want to add a bunch of codes. For example, you see one that's not populated. Okay, this is a RIC. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. So in this case, I'm using my keyboard, Control C, Control V, or of course you could use your mouse and you could copy and paste this way as well, right? So, or your touchpad. The point being is you can see the list, and this is not only going to be for one manufacturer, right? This is going to be your whole line item list for that type, right? Active and inactive devices and services, etc. So you can do a lot of updates here, okay? Now, there's some significant qualifiers I want to throw in at this point. First off, do not change column C. Column C is, of course, the product description or the service description. That is the anchor. That's what Counselor uses to basically match this up. When we help you re-upload this we help you upload this spreadsheet. We're using this description specifically to say, hey, for the Oticon yada yada, for the Phonak, for the Resound, for the autological evaluation or the remote control, here are the new data points for that specific item. So if you change this here, Counselor will not be able to match it up, and it will see it as a new item. So do not change column C. Also, don't delete any columns. Counselor, when we upload this spreadsheet, we do need the columns to be in the same, so don't like move them around, reorder them, don't change the name, don't delete the columns, because that then inhibits the upload process. And so we'd come back to you and say, hey, we need you to redo the spreadsheet before it can be uploaded. So don't rearrange the columns, don't rename them, don't delete them, definitely don't change the description in column C. Now, if you're working on this and you say, well, gosh, I don't need to see all of these, don't delete them. What you do is you just can slim them down. You just say, hey, I don't need to look at the battery. I don't need to see technology right now. Maybe you want to sort by style. That's perfectly fine. You can rearrange the list. That's no problem. But you just can slim them down. So that way, even though these are crunched, that's perfectly fine, right? We can still upload this spreadsheet the exact same way. And hopefully it just makes it more visually straightforward for you to be able to update the specific columns that you need updated, okay? Once you have completed your changes, save them, and then you're going to email them back to support@counselor.com. We can then take the spreadsheet and we load it into your account, right? And so once we load that, we let you know right away, and you'll see that all those changes would have now taken effect, right? So a nice way of kind of doing this in kind of a really efficient and far-reaching way. Now you can add new items to your line item list as well. So if you wanted to, you can go to the bottom of the list and you could start adding in, right? Or you could insert these into the list too if you did want to go to the bottom of the list. So in that case, like I mentioned before, you may want to say copy an item above it, right? To keep all those things, and except for you're just going to change the description and you're going to change the pricing. Otherwise, everything else is the same, right? Perfectly fine. So like I said, there's a lot of ways to make this work to have some far-reaching changes in a hurry, right? And so we can help you with that as well. So obviously a lot of different areas were covered in this Feature Friday about this process. Hopefully it gave you some tools for performing some quick, easy maintenance on your line item list, some quick cleanup, as well as some tools for doing some more far-reaching updates as well. So of course, if you have any questions, give us a call, email us, live chat us. We are always happy to help. Thank you very much for joining us for today's Counselor Feature Friday. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.